Hey, you guys. Welcome to the Giani Cooking Show. All right, so this week, what we're going to do, we're going to do one of my favorite. It's called chicken cacciatore. So let's have fun doing that. Let's also have fun picking in the title. So cacciatore in Italian means the hunter, a hunter. Now, obviously, we know very well that 300-400 years ago, hunters never used to hunt chicken. It's a barn animal. It's a domesticated animal. So there is a reasoning behind that. And the reason why it did stick around for 400-500 years is because the ingredients were used to make chicken cacciatore, which is in French poulet chasseur, are pretty much the same ingredients to actually get rid of the gamey flavors of what those guys used to hunt. So we're talking about hunting ducks, pheasants, or boar, and following me and looking at what I'm going to do today, you're going to understand why it did help to actually relieve that gamey taste into the meat, which is very, very popular today, making chicken cacciatore, for example. So let's do that. I got turn on high temperature, a deep pan. Now again, in this video, I'm going to showcase how to make it pretty fast. Usually chicken cacciatore is done in 1 hour, an hour and a half, sometimes the old-fashioned way, but I love to take an old-fashioned way dish and actually bring it to people done quickly, and it's going to be a lot of fun to do it. So again, I got a deep pan, turn on pretty high temperature, and what I'm going to do right now, as usual, if you watched the video last week, I use my own oil, which is completely infused with garlic and herbs and bay leaves and stuff like that. So the first thing that I'm going to do, just as using a mainstay thing, which is in the Italian cooking, I'm going to put my pancetta in there. And at the same time that I'm going to put my pancetta, I've got some oil cure, like a small handful of black olives. And that's going to go with it, just like that. I'm going to take 2 tablespoons, heaped tablespoons of organic Italian seasoning, or basically herbs of Provence. That's going to go in there too. Couple of pinches of kosher salt, good pinch of black pepper. All right. And what happens is that the magic is starting to right away to happen, and the smells and this and that. So it's very important also the shape of the instrument that you're using. So instead of using a spoon this time, I'm going to use like a rake, what I like to call a rake spoon. So as soon as you put that stuff in there, you've got the rendering. It's already starting to stick to the bottom, and you want under the side, and you want to scrape that. That's very, very important, and it's actually very endearing. So if the heat is too high, turn it down a little bit. You don't want to burn your olive oil. All right. Now the next step that I'm going to do, using usually for chicken cacciatore, you can use chicken thighs or chicken wings or whatever you want to do it with bones or with skin. Well, or you can get it without like bones with no skin. But in that case, what do I have right now is actually chicken thighs, boneless, skinless, but it's got the fat on. And I'm going to leave that. I'm comfortable using to leave the fat on. But obviously, if it was like a regular chicken cacciatore, you would use the whole piece of the chicken, you would marinate it, and you would like slowly cook it. You would brown it first, and you would slowly cook it into the entire sauce. I'm going to show you how to do it quickly. So I chunk it, not too small, not too big, and obviously it's just common sense that by doing that, it's actually going to cook a lot faster. And I'm browning it, basically. Why do I leave the fat on? Because it's actually great fat for you. It's healthy fat. And that's what we need in today's age. Just like a good chicken soup usually is very good for you. So the reasoning behind that is that when I was living in Italy for quite an amount of time, I had the privilege to actually live in Tuscany. I traveled a little bit all over the place, but experiencing so many ways to eat boar cacciatore, chicken cacciatore, I did notice that a lot of people used to leave the fat on. And that's very important because that's part of the mainstay of an old-fashioned dish. That's giving it a lot of flavor. So now I got my herbs of Provence, Italian seasoning. I got the olive oil. I got the pancetta. That's already doing its magic. And as you can see, I mean, it's actually beautiful to look at, right? So now, another little piece of magic of my parents' restaurant. Use beer. And the reason why you use beer, it's because it tenderizes the meat. Now, another thing that I do, I got bone marrow. And while this is cooking, I'm going to show you how I do achieve that. Now, the next thing that I do, all right, I take a giant garlic and I just chop it up. And because it's a cacciatore, it can be chopped up a little coarse, a little bit in different ways, just like the old-fashioned way. It wasn't done perfectly, you know, like a sophisticated dish or stuff like that. It's a country dish. So we got to think 400 or 500 years in the making of doing that. Now, again, this is where the magic is just beginning. On top of that, I'm going to do some onions in there. Just like that. A chicken cacciatore, it's actually a stew. So, again, this is what's called actually a tomato paste tapenade. While this is cooking, I'm going to show you how I get to that. And what I do, I put this double concentrated tomato sauce tweaked with fresh rosemary, salt and pepper, and balsamic vinegar right in there. All right. And now you can see the concentration of these beautiful colors. And you mix it all in. We're going to add a little bit more of onions in it. We're going to cover it up. And we're just going to let it do its magic. Okay. Oop, I forgot the capers. So let's do that quickly. So basically, it's very similar than in the previous video making my pasta bolognese. And again, there is over 100 different ways of making chicken cacciatore. The list is long. Today, I'm going to do it without the peppers. I'm going to use zucchini. So first of all, we're going to get those flavors out of the chicken. It's gorgeous. I mean, if you're looking at this stuff, I mean, you know, my grandmother, there's a saying that says that if it looks good, then it's going to be good. So this is just gorgeous stuff that we're dealing with right now. And what we're going to do, temperature up high to let it spike up. And I'm going to prepare my zucchinis. So again, there are some people that don't like peppers. White peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers. So let's check it out how we can do that. I don't chunk them too big, and I don't chunk them too small. Let's remember that's a stew, but the flavors that are going to come out of it is actually gorgeous. And again, because it's a cacciatore dish, it doesn't have to be precise. It has to be a little rough. And I think the reason why it has to be a little rough, I actually like to vary the size of my vegetables and stuff like that. For the simple reason is that at different stage of the cooking, it releases different enzyme, different flavors. So this is just great, right? So we're gonna add maybe one more half of a zucchini. All right. All right, so take in consideration the way that they actually used to make those dishes, all right? It is a little bit the same as my previous video. In my previous video, I used what's called in Italian a soffritto, or a mirepoix in French. You don't need to actually put celery in there. But again, it depends where you go in Italy. I have seen people use carrots, onions, and celery in a chicken cacciatore. So there are not really any guidelines. I think that the biggest thing that exists is that you actually add, two and four, it depends exactly the size of your chicken cacciatore, how many people you're cooking it for. So I got 2 and 4 of roughly cut mushrooms, and that's going to go in right now. All right. Next to that, I'm going to take, not a lot, I'm going to take 2 spoonfuls of diced tomatoes. All right. Again, we don't want to drown too much the flavors into a tomato sauce. It's more like a garnish of flavor. But imagine in an old country home, anywhere in Italy or in Provence, all right, those dishes been done. And let's have a quick approach in 20-25 minutes, how to do it. Just the same as a chicken cacciatore that used to cook for a long time. So we're going to spike up the temperature. All right, I'm going to add also a little bit of carrots. It can be 2-3 tablespoonfuls, just like that. Doesn't have to be a lot of them. And again, the magic happens between the sugar of the carrots, the sugar of the onions, are like right there. It's like magical. I did say I'm going to add a little bit more onions. So let's do that. Now, in order to cut my onions, I prefer to start cutting my onions. I prefer a serrated knife because it just doesn't slide off and cut your finger. It's just like a bread knife. And here we go. I got a drawer right there. I put all my mess in there. Take the skin out of there, just like this. And this is a true country dish. Very traditional, very old. And the beauty of that is that you take your time or not in the kitchen. You can talk to your friends, have a little bit of wine, beer, whatever you want, talk about your day. And it's just, you don't have to think too much about it. So here we go. And that's all for my tomato. Then I'm going to put on my onions. I'm just going to put it in there. Now you're going to see that, wow, how come you didn't put all the onions in there at the same time? Because the beauty of a dish like this is that looking at all these like people from Italy, or my grandmother and all my parents, all right, what they used to do, they used to add stuff to it at different stage. And this is the reason why you're getting this volume of flavors, this thickness of flavors that's very, very hard to duplicate. If you put everything in one shot into a big pot, all right, like a pressure cooker, those things work fantastic also. And they are great for like somebody that works all the time, that just have a tough piece of meat. And we're gonna, in the future videos, I'm gonna cover how to use a pressure cooker with stuffed meats. And it's just like great also. A pressure cooker is very old fashioned, actually. Once upon a time, they must have found out that, wow, it's like if you cook some stuff under pressure, it's just going to taste better, or it's going to make a meat, taste wonderful. So like right now, as you can see, I'm adding my zucchini. All right, that stuff cooks really, really fast. So if you basically put it too soon, it's just going to dissolve. You don't want it to dissolve. All right. Now, I have seen my parents, my grandmother also, and people from Italy in the mountains actually put some not bone marrow, but actually bone broth or chicken broth or stuff like that. The reasoning behind that is very simple. You live in the mountains, it's cold. My grandparents' village, where I used to live in Provence, was not far from the ocean. And boy, I got to tell you something. It was windy. It was nasty. It's actually my grandparents' house, and they never used to have air conditioning because the bottom of their house was actually 2,000 years old, and they built a new structure on top of it. So the walls were about 3 feet thick, and it's just like it was just cold. So I'm going to talk about another little treasure. So as you can see right there, I'm adding green beans to it because again, it's a country dish, and it is something that actually I'm going to start a series of it. I started it today. Poor man's dish, country dish, peasant's food. Peasant food, we actually started 400, 500, or 600 years ago, probably older than that, has become a very, very excellent group of dishes to serve worldwide. And people are completely amazed. It's like some of my friends, I'm like saying, wow, that's peasant's food. It's like, I want to be a peasant all over we're all peasants a little bit. And the beautiful stuff about that are the flavors, the array of flavors that come out of it. And here I am with my balsamic vinegar again, instead of the wine. And again, I've seen people in Italy use the red wine. Some of them use the white wine. But you can also use, basically, just like that, a little bit of vinegar, balsamic vinegar. Now I got it on high. All right. And what we're going to do right now, I'm going to show you how to make this concoction of tomato paste. So basically, I take some double concentrated tomato paste that I squeeze. You can get it in cans, but this one is actually in the tube. I'll get 2, 3 of them, or whatever. And then this is just a little treasure. It's almost like a window from heaven that open up and you get the recipe sent to you. So, pinch of kosher salt in there, pinch of black pepper, all right, balsamic vinegar. Okay, I'm gonna do some olive oil. Okay. Now, what I add to it in there are caraway seeds and fennel seeds. I got my mortar and pestle. I love that stainless steel pure gizmo, and I pretty much crush it. It comes with a plastic top. You can crush it. You can play with it, crush those seeds, caraway seeds, and then you just add them to that. The rest of it, I'm just going to add to it because it's just gorgeous in terms of flavors. Same thing, I'm going to stir it up because it's all worth it. And because we are all worth it of those beautiful dishes from ancient time. Now again, everything that's in there is going to cook 20-25 minutes. And what I do with that, I just stir it up. That's all you have to do. So, let's check it out again. We got double concentrate tomato paste, salt, black pepper, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, You can use regular olive oil. I got my own infused oil, which I use again today, with crushed garlic, organic herbs, or Italian seasoning, or herbs of Provence, and it's got the bay leaves in there. And this is another reason why I don't need to add bay leaves. A lot of people put bay leaves in there, but actually, in my olive oil, I cut the leaves off. This is the bay essence in there, right into the oil, and so the flavors of the bay leaves are already into the oil, and you just stir it up, and the consistency has to be like a paste, like a rich pesto paste. And if it looks a little too reddish, it's because it doesn't have enough balsamic vinegar in there. It has to look like a dark, deep, rich color. All right, and the genius of that is that I take some fresh rosemary, just take it off right from there. All right, and I just chop it up. To chop it up, my knife has a rounded blade because it's a chopping knife. I don't recommend it to put it in a blender. You can, a lot of people do, but it kind of either chew it up too much. It doesn't have a mixture of coarse. When you're doing something like this, actually chopping it up by hand, you release a different size, you're releasing different essence when you mix it into your cooking, or when you're mixing it into something like that. So here we go. Now we got the fresh rosemary, the caraway seeds, the fennel seeds who have been crushed, and that releases flavors pretty much instantly. You mix it in, you can leave it, don't put it in the fridge right away. You can use it to paint any meat, or what you can do when you have people coming over, you can actually take beautiful French baguette or country bread, just like that. All right, and what I'll do, you take a little bit of that pesto or spread, whatever you want to call it, and you just like stick it on just like that. And if you eat that stuff, I mean, every time that I make it, I pretty much I can eat the whole thing if you give me some little bit of bread. And what I'll do also, I'll get some wild boar sausage straight from Italy. You got to remove the casing because these things are hanging and aging in little caves in Italy or in the attic, and you just got little slices of it, just like that, and it's just gorgeous to eat. I mean, this is just like amazing, the flavors, and you can like stick it right on top of your little toasty, and boy, is that the taste of Italy or what? This is old school, and this is absolutely delicious. Now let's talk about the bone marrow. How do I get to that? I always keep bone marrow in my fridge, just like my parents was Western, just like my grandmother. So let's do that. So yesterday, I just bought 2 big marrow bones, and I keep always a certain volume of marrow bones in there. And what I do, I put some kosher salt, I turn the oven on 500, I drench the 2 bones with kosher salt, black pepper, I put the kosher salt also on the pan, not too much, not all over the pan, just a little bit around the pan with black pepper. I take some fresh rosemary that I chop up, I put it in there also. You can put caraway seeds, fennel seeds, organic, herbs of Provence with Italian seasoning. You stick it in there, and whenever comes out of it, when it's cooled off, you just scrape it all out of it, and you're coming out with a beautiful mixture of bone marrow that's extremely, extremely good for you. I mean, this is like old school, and this is what we need to go back to, old-fashioned kind of cooking that's very, very healthy for you. So it's a stew. This is a quick stew. Now, again, before I open it up, and it's pretty much done now, let's talk about something. One of the reasons that I do that, and you can find the chicken, and like I started in my stew, I put some in there. Now, in the old days, when my parents used to have the restaurant, and I used to be in charge of making the tomato sauce, my father always insisted, and basically the sauce was cooked in pots were much bigger than that. One of them was old sauce, the other one was new sauce, and the more they were serving spaghetti dish or whatever that at lunchtime, then you would take some of the new sauce and mix it in with the old sauce, the old pot. But one of the things that my father always used to scream at me, make sure that you're scraping the sides and mix it all in, just like I'm doing now. Now at home, if you take any kind of like pan that's shaped like this, with the straight walls like that, now what happens is that as you're reducing the tomato sauce and stuff like that, and if you're making a chicken cacciatore, all the extra fluid, liquid, you can use them and store them into some jar and use them on top of pasta. So by scraping that stuff that's on the side of it, it's actually caramelized tomato sauce, and this is loaded. It's flavors after flavors of different stages of cooking, and when you mix it with the regular sauce, that's when you achieve dream type flavors that you can duplicate unless you're doing it. So this is basically what it's doing. It's a double concentrated, all right, pesto, whatever spread, whatever you want to do, but it's pretty much to duplicate almost the same thing as that without the chicken in there and stuff like that. So you can keep it more often on the tabletop or on the open without being refrigerated that much, and you will see that the tomato sauce has a tendency to harden on the side, just like in the pan. And this is what you want to do. You want to scrape it when you've got guests coming in and stuff like that. Just keep like rake it, spread, like mix it in again, because that's the magic of the whole thing. Now, chicken cacciatore, it was once upon a time served, still today, with polenta. You can serve it with risotto. You can serve it with pasta, or as a side dish, or you can put actually, look at this. Look how beautiful that stuff is. I mean, this is called mijoter at this point. It's like a French expression. And what we're going to do right now is basically give it a good stir. And again, all these extra juices, you do not get rid of it. So this is a dish basically that can be done in 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It's probably the most important thing to it is actually you actually cut the chicken. If you cook the chicken on the bone, with the skin, without the skin, into a bigger dish like that, you have to make sure that the chicken is like actually cooked through right to the bone. So when the meat falls off the bone, you know very well that it's cooked really well. Otherwise, here we go. Let's pretend it's just a day anywhere, and you're serving it with pasta or not. But you're talking about comfort food now. And my friends like that dish so much when I make it that it's not a fall dish at all. It's basically a year-round dish. And what I'm going to do also, I'm going to take this spoon. Do not get rid of the juice. And here we go. Oh my goodness. Now, if you eat bread or not, trust me, you will be drinking the juice. It's so delicious. And like I say, if you have pasta, then you can very easily pour all the juice or a fraction of the juice right on that pasta. And it's just wonderful. So let's see what we have in there. Just like last week, we got the black olives, which I depleted. We got the garlic, we got the onions, we got the chicken cooked in beer, we got the zucchinis, we got salt, we got black pepper, we got bone marrow melted, we got shaved off carrots. If you cook the dish for a long time, you don't need to shave off those carrots. You can, but in there, I do have sliced carrots. It takes a little longer. That's all. But if you're cooking it for a long time, it's okay. If you're shredding it, and if you're shredding really fine the onions, the reason why you can't do it too narrow, basically, those onions and those carrots, is that if you cook the dish traditionally for a long time, it will dissipate within the sauce. So you want to keep a little bit of onions alive right there, the consistency of onions. We got the capers, we got the black olives, we got the diced tomatoes, and look at this. Comparing it to two dishes is the balsamic vinegar. It's very important. Now, this is the same dish that I've cooked yesterday for 2 hours minimum. All right, and if you're looking at the two dishes, it's pretty much the same thing. All right, we got now the chicken is no longer in chunk, but if you're looking at the chicken, it just breaks away. I mean, it's just so beautiful. The beer in it is responsible for that. Now, this chicken had bones in there. I kind of like took them all out, but it just fell off the bones. I got the green beans just like that, and I got the black olives, I got the capers, it's the rosemary. And another thing that I've learned to do also in my parents' restaurant is that if you really want to make it even more delicious, you take a little bit of that tomato pesto and you just like paint the top part of that dish just like that. And you really are going to let the people obviously you got to serve those dishes with a spoon too. And let the people just mix a little bit of that chicken with the pesto, and the layers of flavors in your guest or your family's mouth is out of this world. It doesn't matter if this is cooked for like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, or this cooked for like 2 hours. It's the same dish, but that pesto mixed with it, a window from heaven that did open up, and somebody from there just like dropped a piece of paper that says, hey, something that you can cook down there. It's so good. It's just endearing. I hope that you enjoyed this very old dish. That's chicken cacciatore. Poor man's food, or food for kings. So I think that we are kings when we eat food like that. It's got some great stuff, the bone marrow and stuff like that. You can't dismiss all that stuff. And the balsamic vinegar is just enriching the flavors, and they are so important. And having a certain volume of zucchini and stuff like that, it just puts more volume of flavors. And when it's in your mouth, and it's just you're wondering what's in there, where does that come from? Because you can taste the black olives, you can taste the chicken, you can taste the tomato sauce and the diced tomatoes, the zucchinis and stuff like that, the carrots, and it's just endearing. And it's old school, it's old world, and I'm glad to bring it to you because it's a window of my past, and it's also the present. That's what I do all the time. This is what I cook for my friends all the time. We love it. Year round, we enjoy a good dish like that. And that's the video of this week. If you love what you're seeing, please subscribe to the channel, to our video on YouTube. And again, to keep in tradition with what I'm going to say is next week, we're going to try to release another video. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's going to be something on either some kind of different poor man's dish from Italy. Then the capers, don't forget the capers. It's endearing. You've got to have it all. And enjoy your week and your time until next time that we meet each other in the kitchen. Thank you for watching, and I have a great time eating it.